This is not a book haul. These are just some books I have that, because I only speak English, I don't know how to read. So, I'm just going to start it off with this volume here. This is just one. There's actually a 10-volume set of these that I have. And this is the Keil Delitzsch Commentary on the Old Testament. And I can't, now, I say I can't read this. This was originally published in German. This is not the German edition. This is an English translation of the German edition. But because it is an Old Testament commentary, they make direct references. They make direct references to the original Hebrew of the Old Testament, as well as the Greek translation, the Septuagint, and they write those references not in an English transliteration of the Hebrew and Greek phrases like some commentaries do, but they write it directly in the Greek and Hebrew characters of the written language. And so, so there's just big chunks of this that I get to, and it's all Greek to me. It just becomes difficult to read. And I got this book just years and years ago. And at the time, I knew it was a more academic book than I was probably going to make use of regularly. But I was at a point in my life where I wanted that sort of thing. Just thinking about it, I wanted something robust, something that had a lot of thought and effort put into it. So that's why I picked up, the whole set. And it's been more or less just sitting on the shelf. I'm going to keep it, just out of course. But yeah, there's just bits and pieces of this that I just can't read. And next, I'm going to show these things. So years ago, before I bought that, years and years and years ago, I took it in my head that I was going to learn to speak Scottish Gaelic. And which I did. I made some progress on it. I've forgotten most everything about it. But that was my thing. I was going to learn to speak a lot of that. And so I ended up picking up a few books. Books in Scottish Gaelic are a little bit hard to find. So I got a few here that are just aimed at learners of the language. These are more like YA books for teenagers or people who are just learning to read. So this is Deidre Agus Henry. No, not Henry. That's what I can't remember. Is it Henry or Henry? But this just means Deidre and the king. Akol Yijek Cognac. No. Akol Yijek by Cognac Lindsay. And at the bottom, Far Avel Jinkin as Kunjerke. Nope, that's wrong. That's what I would probably get. And Taishla. Ashirak Shugal Earth by Ian Finlay McLeod. It says, there's a lot of Gaelic I don't recall. A few phrases, it's like, Jayanthinya Mahorst is Misha Levi, Kimera Ha'u, Habi Mach. And of course, if you're learning Gaelic, one phrase that you will encounter, and that is a necessity to learning Gaelic, is Shin Marahai, which that's Shin Marahai. That is the equivalent of that's the way it is. So if you ask like why is the spelling so weird? Why do you arrange the words in this fashion? Why is this contracted and this is not? The answer is Shin Marahai. Shin Marahai. Anyway. Those are a few phones. In the future, I do want sometime in the future to take back up my Scottish Gaelic studies, but that's a far future thing. I'm into other stuff right now, and I want to get that sort of away before I even try dipping my toes back in that water. Which brings me around to this. Every few years or so, I go on this kick like I'm going to learn Spanish. Last time I went on this kick, I tried to learn Scottish Gaelic, but this time I'm going back on the Spanish train. And I made, if I said I made okay progress, that would be hyperbole, but I'm working on it. So I got a few books here in Spanish that I just want to show off. This one I've shown before in a previous video is the complete short stories of Jorge Luis Borges. Borges. I always mess it up. I always want to end up calling him Jose, but it's Jorge. And I don't know a lot about him. I've listened to audiobook for an English translation of his story, and there are more things which I really liked. And what little I know about him is he's a big deal in Latin American literature, just anyways, but particularly in regards to fantasy literature, more along the lines of Weird Tales, the South American equivalent to the American Weird Tales sort of thing, is what I get. Maybe that's different when I actually crack into the stuff, but that's my understanding of his work right now. Like I say, right now I can't read it, except maybe like a few choice words here and there. But I hope to get into this pretty soon. By the end of the year, I'm hoping to be able to read at least one of these stories just as a piece of literature without having to stop and look things up or spend a lot of time mulling over what the meaning of the paragraph is or any of that stuff. So I'm hoping to get that pretty soon. Another thing I have is Abriendo Puertas. This is it's short fiction and poems, but this particular volume is part of a 2-volume set. I only have the first one. Is for a classroom setting, people learning Spanish, giving people native Spanish materials to help them learn to read and communicate in Spanish. So there's a few stories by Borges and other significant, Mexican and South American authors in here. Both, like I say, both short stories and poetry. So that's another thing. Like, hopefully, at some point, I'll be able to just sit down and read this just as a piece of fiction. Now, the next thing here is a translation. This is Hellboy, and this one is the Baba Yaga y Otros Relatos. So this is a translation of some of Mike Mignola's Hellboy stories. Now, I should have all of these stories in the original English sitting here over on the shelf. So before I even try to crack into this one, I'm going to read them in English, just so that it'll give me a better idea of what everything's about before I try and, stretch my brain with the Spanish. And last one here, this is Blacksad. This is the first Blacksad book. This one, I think this one is a reprint for the Latin American market, but Blacksad, so far as I'm aware, the original Blacksad stories are in Spanish, so it should just be, European Spanish inside the book. And I do have a few of these Blacksad stories as translated into English, sitting over here on the shelf. So I have read this one before in English, and hopefully some point soon I'll be able to get at it in its original language. So, again, there's just a few books I have that I have them. I'm going to keep them. I look forward to reading them, but I just can't read them yet. Anyways, that's all I have to say about that. So I'll talk to you later.